If you're in sales, why do you need to understand the concept of you sell how you buy? I'm Sylvan Bell. I'm coming to you live from Sacramento, California on a perfect day to talk about sales and a perfect day to talk about you. Now, every time that I ride with salespeople, one of the things that I have them do is I have them explain their buying process so I know what type of salesperson I'm dealing with. There's really three types of buyers out there. You have an impulsive buyer, which is going to be somebody like me where I go and I'm like, I like it, I'll take it, thank you very much. You have on the other end of the spectrum, you have the strategic buyer who goes out and they make their purchases based upon buyer rankings, doing review, price matching, price comparisons, asking people. So like that's both ends of the pendulum. You got somebody who's the impulsive buyer like me. And then you got somebody who's a hyper-intensive buyer where they got to gather a bunch of information. Then you got some people who are in the middle sometimes. And one of the things that I see salespeople struggle with the most is they don't understand their buying style. Your buying style is typically your selling style. Now, what you need to know is my arch enemy is the person who's over here. My arch enemy is the person who is I got to get some information. I got to do some research buyer, because in my mind I'm like, that's crazy. You're wasting your time. Time is money. Go make a purchase. Just go buy it, right? It's probably pretty good. Then you got the person over here who is the buyer who likes to do all the research. They look at me and they go, hey Scott, you're absolutely crazy. You're not doing any research. You're not picking up any information. Now, one of the things that you could do to gather the most amount of intel that's really going to help you out, and this is something that's going to take you a couple hours. This is something that the average salesperson is going to do. This is something that a closer or performer is going to do, or somebody who's on their way, is they're going to go out and they're going to go in the wild and they're going to watch other salespeople. Now, one of the easiest places to do this is big electronic stores where they still have salespeople, and you're going to listen for key phrases, right? The strategic buyer is going to say stuff like research, and they're going to say stuff like price matching and how do I find the best deal? For the most part, okay? The person over here on my end is going to say stuff like now, immediately, quickly, don't want to wait. And your job is to sit there and watch. Your job is to sit there and decide, is the salesperson, what kind of buyer are they? Are they a immediate buyer? Are they a hybrid buyer? Are they a strategic buyer, right? And then your other job is to look at the buyer and go, is the buyer a strategic buyer, a hybrid buyer, or an immediate buyer? And there's a reason for this, because there's a log jam process. There's a point where worlds collide. There's a point where people struggle to connect and have information. There's also the problem when you have two buyers that are exactly the same. So the biggest struggle that I will tell you out of both of them is strategic buyer, strategic salesperson. Okay? Now, there is a problem with immediate buyer and immediate salesperson. So strategic buyer, strategic salesperson, what's going to happen? Strategic buyer is going to say, hey, I want to think about it. Strategic salesperson is going to go look like I completely understand. Let's just go ahead and wait. Call me back, right? Sell may fall apart, may be made, who knows? Okay. Problem with immediate buyer, immediate salesperson is sometimes in the mind of the immediate salesperson, they identify and they connect on rapport level so quick, they push too fast. Right? There's a process, there's a tempo, there's a speed to the sales process, and what will happen is the salesperson gets too excited and real too fast, rolls out price, pushes too hard. Just because I say this as an immediate buyer doesn't mean walk in, hey, give me the best thing you got. It's just faster than the strategic buyer, okay? So your job is to go out, I'm giving you a homework assignment, your job is to go out and to watch a sales process or two. Right? Just kind of hang around, watch and see how people are asking, play on your phone, put some headphones in and don't listen to music. It's going to be some of the best research that you ever do. You're going to see at some point where deals start falling apart, because it's going to make it, I promise, it'll make it easier for you to do the same. You're going to look and you're going to be like, ooh, this deal's about to fall apart. And you should, like, in your mind go, hey, I think that this deal's going to get made. You should call them audible. You should be like, it's either going to get an objection, it's either going to close, or it's either going to come down to some price negotiation, okay? And so like electronics at a big box store, they're not like super, it's not a big deal. And the people are used to having people walk around and see what's going on. If you work at a place where they sell products or services, this may be a place where you get to sit down and hang out and pay attention to a sales call. If you have the ability to do a ride-along, this is all something you should be paying attention to. Do we have an immediate buyer? Do we have a strategic buyer? Or right here, do we have a hybrid buyer? And where is the process going good and where is it falling apart? I promise you, it will help you be a better salesperson. If you want to learn how to be a closer, this is one of the things you do. If you want to learn how to sell more faster, easier, identify people, identify what you are, and know where that log jam is going to happen. Immediate buyer, immediate salesperson could be too quick to the sale. Strategic buyer, strategic salesperson could look at it and go, hey, look, I understand. This is how I buy. Call me back. Okay? There you go. So here's the thing. In the box down below, I was gonna close the video, but I forgot to ask you a question. In the box down below, state what kind of buyer you are and state what kind of salesperson you are. Are you a strategic buyer? Because if you're a strategic buyer, you're probably a strategic salesperson. It doesn't always mean that's how it's going to work out, right? There's like 9 different ways that this could work out. Are you an immediate buyer? Are you an immediate salesperson? Because it's one way for you to completely identify where you're at, and it could be a sign of where you're going to have rub bumps and where you're going to struggle, okay? Now, if you've never been here before, you got one thing to do from here, just one thing. Find the subscribe button and click on it. Every time I send out a video, you'll get an update that says Scott Bell Consultant sent out another fantastic video. You should check it out, which you should. We'll see you soon. Aloha.